The men's Olympics were amazing. We saw so many good games and great competition, and it was topped off with an elite final between USA and France. Steph Curry went nuclear and USA took home the gold. France ended up taking home the silver award, and in 4 years from now, they're going to be phenomenal because they have so many young players coming up in the wings, like recent #1 and #2 overall picks Reece Shea and Alex Sarr, and Tidjane Salaam, and projected top 5 pick next year Nolan Traore, all joining Wemby. Serbia ended up taking home the bronze. You know, Canada and Germany are going to be good every year as well. So today, we are going to be predicting Team USA's roster in 4 years of the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. Now, there's been a lot of debate because this team was led by a lot of NBA veterans like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. They're all going to be 4 years older then. A lot of those guys probably won't be participating in the 2028 Olympics. So today, we're going to try to predict the roster for what it's going to look like at the 2028 Olympics. I have a bunch of NBA players in this pool. Some guys not even in the league yet. Now, I didn't really have anybody like an AJ Debanta who's going to be in the 2026 draft or Cameron Boozer. There was nobody from the 2022 draft or even 2021 draft on this current Olympics team. Maybe they'll make the FIBA World Cup team. I just don't think they're going to be good enough yet to be making the Olympic roster, which is the best of the best. So we are going to put all these pool players into starter, bench, fringe player, like they could make it. They may just be an odd man out. Too old or won't do it just later in their careers, or may just be retired by then. And then a cut, which is basically, I don't think they'll make the roster. So most likely Drew Holiday isn't going to be on the next roster, in my opinion. I think he's just going to be a little bit older. He could be out of the league then. He did say a little bit ago that this could be the last contract of his career, and USA is going to need to replace his elite defensive ability. That's why I have Alex Caruso in this pool. Now, I don't think he's going to make it. There's offensive limitations. He's not as an elite of a three-point shooter as Drew, and not as good of a player as Drew Holiday, but I think he could get consideration if he's still a really good player then, but he'll be almost 34 years old. Amen Thompson could be interesting because now I'm trying to just predict what his development is going to be in the next 4 years. He's somebody that could do a little bit of everything. Now, he could make the roster like a Tyrese Halliburton, maybe wouldn't play that much, but I don't know if that outside shot is going to play in 4 years. He's an interesting guy to bring up to the table in discussions here, but in my opinion, will be cut. On next Olympics team in 2028, a lot of people wanted him to start this year when he was trying to go up against guys like Devin Booker in the starting lineup or Jason Tatum at times at the start of things, and Ant really shined in his role off the bench. He did have some inconsistent shooting games, but I thought he did great on the defensive side of the floor. So I think Anthony Edwards will be a starter in 2028. I mean, this dude is going to be just 27 years old, and think about how many more accolades he could have in the NBA world and just bring those over to the Olympics and have him be a kind of a veteran on that next team because a lot of these guys are getting older. Anthony Davis is an interesting one because he's going to be 35 years old. I don't know if he's going to want to do it. I do think he will though, and he would probably still be a starter then. I mean, he could be a veteran coming off the bench. I mean, he wouldn't be the oldest guy to do it. We saw Steph, LeBron, KD all on the older side do it this year, but AD has had his injury concerns in the past. So I'm not sure if he's going to be the outright starter. I may move him to the bench, but I do think he's going to be on the team in 4 years. I still think he's going to want to do it. And if he's even like 85% of himself, he's still going to be one of the better big man options because a lot of good big men right now are not on the USA side of things. And I have no idea, we'll get to Embiid, where he's going to be playing in 2028 because he's hinted about possibly playing for Cameroon. So Brandon Podziemski, he was on the select team, could be a fun style of play, maybe more suited for the FIBA World Cup then. I do think he's going to get cut, but he's someone that could do a little bit of everything, would be a nice complimentary piece, but I don't think he's going to make it. Brandon Miller, oh man. I'm going to throw him in the fringe tier for now because he was really good already in his rookie season. He has the size, has the frame, has the shot-making ability to be a nice scoring option for Team USA. I think he's going to be good enough on the defensive end of the floor because that's what they prioritize, and Steve Kerr may not be the coach then, but if it's Eric Spoelstra, if it's somebody else, they're going to prioritize shooting, defense, and passing, and I do think in 4 years from now, Brandon Miller is going to be exceptional in all those categories at the NBA side of things. So I'm going to have him in fringe. He could be like an odd man out then, we'll see. Brandon Ingram, I mean, it didn't really work out in the FIBA World Cup, and I think if there was going to be a year for him to make it, it would have been this year, unless he reinvents himself as like an elite perimeter defender, an elite playmaker, maybe, but I don't think he's going to make it right now. I think Damian Lillard, like, obviously wasn't on it this year. He'll just be too old / won't do it. Darius Garland, I think there's going to be a lot of good point guards. That's not really a position that Team USA needs, so I think he's going to get cut. There's just like 4 or 5 other guys that I think could be in consideration. Now, he could have a more well-balanced game by then as well, but I don't think he's like elite enough on the perimeter as a defender to make it. I'm not sure if he's going to be that much better in 4 years. We'll see though. Chet Holmgren, I think Chet Holmgren's going to make it. I do. This team needs big men, and with Embiid up in the air, we'll see with AD and his age. I'm going to have him on the bench here, but honestly, Chet could be the starter for Team USA in 4 years, but we'll see. We'll go back to the big man side of things. Kobe White, fun player, but I don't think he would be making it. Obviously, his style of play may not translate over to Team USA. Cam Whitmore, I think will be a little bit too young. Could be a fun offensive piece. We'll see how he develops in Houston, but still kind of too young. Cade Cunningham is interesting because Cade Cunningham is going to have, what, 7 years under his belt by this time? So I'm going to throw him in the fringe there. We'll see what the point guard situation is looking like because they may have to replace Steph and Drew Holiday by then. Cason Wallace, like, we're going to have to replace the Drew Holiday spot, but I just think there's some other perimeter defenders that could make it over him. Now, I think Cooper Flagg is going to make it. I do think Cooper Flagg is the only player not in the NBA right now to make it just because of how elite he's supposed to be on the defensive end of the floor. He can guard 5s, 4s, 3s on the perimeter, in the post, and he's projected to be a really good three-point shooter as well. Good playmaker. Everything Team USA wants. He was on the select team as someone that hasn't even played college basketball yet, and the first time we've seen that in quite some time. So yeah, Cooper Flagg is going to be on Team USA's bench, in my opinion, in the 2028 Olympics, which is kind of crazy. I think De'Aaron Fox could get some looks as well. Like I said, we got to go back and evaluate that point guard position and that depth that we are going to have going forward. DeJounte Murray, just the lack of defensive ability. I just don't think that style of play, a little bit of hero ball there, isn't going to be great over in Team USA. DeMar DeRozan, too old, wasn't on it this time. Derek White is an interesting one because he's going to be 34 then. Obviously, was just on Team USA this year and actually played meaningful minutes for them as someone that could do a little bit of everything. He's a great defender, good shooter, makes the extra passes, isn't going to turn the ball over. And if he wants to do it, I think he would be on it, but the thing is, he'll be 34. We'll see if he wants to. So right now, I'm just going to throw him in the fringe because I have no idea if he's going to be in or out, and depending on what Team USA needs, like, I don't know if they would cut him, right? Like, he's been on it before, but we'll see. Devin Booker probably will be a starter. I mean, this dude really is someone that can adapt to any scenario. Like, at Kentucky, was an elite 6-man, ends up being a lottery pick off that. This year, plays point guard for the first time, basically, in his career, and I thought excelled at that. And this year for Team USA, he was a great bench player for them. He was efficient, making extra passes, really bought into that role, and didn't have to be the #1 option that he's been in Phoenix, and really adapted to that play style. I thought Devin Booker could be the unsung hero of this past Team USA team, and was phenomenal. And I think him and Anthony Edwards could be the starting backcourt for Team USA because we think Devin Booker could be a great playmaker, and maybe he's not as good as Steph is right now because Steph has that added gravity to him and everyone's going to be focusing on him, so it enhances his playmaking ability. But I think Devin Booker is just as good with his court vision and his IQ as Steph is right now, that Booker could be in 4 years from now. So I think Booker could be one of the stars on that team. Derek Lively, I mean, if you're going to be a good enough big man by then, I think you're going to be in the fringe category. This team is going to need some big man depth, and it could come down between Derek Lively or Chet Holmgren. We'll see. Jaime Jaquez was on the select team, but I just think we have a lot of guys with that style of play, so he's going to get cut. Donovan Clingan, I think it may just be too early for him, but like I said, it could go down to just the needed big man depth. So I'm going to throw him in the cut tier because I think he's going to be on the outside looking in unless he just excels with his development over the next 4 years. Now, Donovan Mitchell, if he wants to do it, I think would be on it. He is a top 15 player, top 20 player in the NBA right now. He's going to be in his prime in 4 years from now. So I think if he wants to do it, he would be on it. So I think Donovan Mitchell could be coming off the bench for Team USA. I know it's a little redundant with him, Booker, and Ant, but I do think, like, if you're going to be moving on from Steph, he could replace not Steph as the elite shooter that he is, but just kind of that scoring ability, and especially they're going to have to replace LeBron's scoring ability and KD's scoring ability potentially. So I'm going to throw Donovan Mitchell on that bench. We have 7 out of our 12 spots right now. Evan Mobley, he could also be someone that's going to be in that big man depth going by then. We'll see if he develops much more of an offensive game, but if this team needs elite defensive playmaking, he's probably going to get the nod over Derek Lively and could potentially get it over Chet Holmgren as well. Obviously, their developments could go all over the place in the next 4 years, but if it's linear and we see Mobley be an all-star caliber player by then, he is definitely going to be in consideration. I think Herb Jones could also be in consideration as well, just because of how elite he is on the perimeter as a defender. And if he's a knockdown three-point shooter and shows his ability to be able to find an open man in the half court, he could also be in consideration as well. I think like him and Cooper Flagg could be fighting for that type of role on Team USA. Emmanuel Quickley would be fun and all, but he's going to be a cut in my opinion, even though I think he's a nice two-way player. John Morant, I think, is going to be in consideration as well. Like I said, I'm going to have to figure out the point guard depth of this team, but if it comes down between Ja and De'Aaron Fox and Cade Cunningham, I think Ja's got all the potential to be the #1 out of those guys. I think Jalen Brunson, if he wants to do it, I mean, he's going to be around 32 years old, so he's going to be a little bit older. He didn't make it this go around coming off a top 5 season in the league, and he's more of a score first guy. He's a good passer, don't get me wrong, and he plays very well in the half court, but I think they could be looking for something maybe a little bit different and just a little bit better on the defensive end of the floor, which I think Cade and Fox can provide for them. Now, Jalen Suggs I think could be a perfect Drew Holiday replacement because he showed elite 3D ability, or an elite Derek White replacement as well, because he was a top 5 perimeter defender in the league this season. He was an elite 3-point shooter. He can also play make as well, something you're going to get a little bit more than like a Herb Jones out there. So I think like Jalen Suggs could be like the Derek White wild card for the 2028 team for sure. J-Dub, I think, is going to be in consideration as well. If I have Brandon Miller in there, I have to have J-Dub in there. We're going to trim this fringe tier down by the end of this. Julius Randle, I just think like if he didn't make it or even was in consideration this go around, I mean, he was injured. I just don't think he's going to make it next go around, because I just think like Randle, good player and all, just won't fit Team USA. James Harden, yeah, I don't think he's going to make it. Now, LeBron, for the memes, it would be cool to say that LeBron is somehow going to do this in his 40s in 4 years, but for the sake of the exercise, I'm just going to put him in the too old, won't do it. So I'm going to expect that he's retired in 4 years, but it's LeBron. He's probably still going to be doing it. I think LaMelo Ball is going to be in this fringe tier as well. We're going to figure out the point guards there. Kevin Durant, for the fun of this, we're going to put him in the too old, won't, but honestly, KD at 39 years old may want to do this actually. KD, all he knows is ball. He's someone that loves the game of basketball, and he could definitely be doing this in 4 years from now. So if he is doing it, he could be a nice 6-man off the bench guy, because I'm sure he's going to be an elite shooter. Like him and LeBron would be up there, obviously, but I'm just going to assume they won't do it. Jared Allen definitely going to be in the pool of big men as well. Jaylen Brown would make it for sure, but does he have bad blood with Team USA after getting snubbed from this year's team potentially? So I'm not going to throw him on the bench for now. I think Tatum will start. There's clearly a path for him to be a starter with KD and LeBron potentially leaving, and I don't know if there's bad blood. Obviously, there was a lot of times where he was coming up in the news because he wasn't playing, and he had a lot of DNPs from Steve Kerr. I mean, he wasn't a great shooter for them at times when he was out there, so I really got Kerr's decision making. Now, I do think Tatum should have played at least a little bit. I don't think he was DNP worthy because he provides a positive on the defensive end of the floor, and he's a good playmaker in the half court and can get to the rim, but you know, his shot wasn't there, and it really hasn't been for a little bit. So I think he will be a starter though if he wants to do it, and that's going to be a big thing. Do they want to do it? Jimmy Butler with the best hairstyle ever. I think he's going to be too old now. Embiid, I don't know. If Embiid wants to do it for Team USA, he will be a starter, but he's going to be almost 35 years old. He's had his fair share of injuries throughout the course of his career. Does he even want to do it for Team USA? Like I said, it came up that he's maybe interested in playing for Team Cameroon now that he got a gold medal. So I don't know. I just think injuries, like, it wouldn't be wise for him to do it specifically as an almost 35-year-old. So I'm going to say too old / won't do it for Team USA, because we're going to have some fun figuring out who the big men are going to be. Jalen Green could be a really good player by then, but I don't think he's going to make it over like a Mitchell or Edwards or Devin Booker. Fred VanVleet could actually be a player that's style play could translate over to Team USA, but I just think they're going to want a little bit more size. Michael Porter Jr., not as much as a playmaker. Mikal Bridges, I think, could be in the fringe tier as well. If I'm going to consider Herb Jones, I do want to consider Mikal Bridges as well for the defensive ability. If Kawhi couldn't make it through this time around, I think he's going to be too old / won't do it with the injury concerns. I do think Paolo Banchero could potentially even be a starter on Team USA in 4 years from now. He played for the FIBA World Cup team last year, coming off his rookie season. He had an even better sophomore year, and in 4 more years, he could be a perennial all-NBA player in the NBA. So I do think that Paolo Banchero is going to be a starter on the 2028 team. I think Scotty Barnes could also be in consideration as well. Like, there's a lot of wings to figure out who's going to be snubbed and who won't. I'm going to assume Curry's going to be too old / won't do it. It's going to be almost 40. No idea if he's going to be in the NBA by then. I actually think Trae Young, even though he's on the level with some of these guys, I just don't know if he's going to make it. Like, if I'm going to put Brunson in there, I should put Trae Young in there, but I'm sure he's going to be cut anyway. Just the defense ability, I'm not really sure if it's going to make it. Tyler Hero, we are going to cut. Zion Williamson, I think, could be in consideration as well. Same with Tyrese Maxey for the guards. Halliburton, I don't know if he's going to be a starter, because you may start Booker at the 1, and I don't know if it makes a lot of sense having like Ant at the 3. This is a little small, but I do think he's going to be someone that's actually going to play for Team USA. He had a lot of DNPs, didn't really play throughout the group stage and in the knockout stage, but he's someone that should make it in 4 years from now if he wants to, because he's going to be someone that could do everything. Now, there's a little bit of liability on the defensive end of the floor, but he was on it this past go around. I think he'll make it then. I think Zach LaVine will be cut, and I do think Bam Adebayo will be the starter as a 31-year-old for Team USA. He played meaningful minutes for them this year, an elite defender inside, an elite defensive anchor. Maybe they would want some floor spacing. So right now, I have 10 guys. This is going to be tough, man. You thought there was tough snubs last year. There could be tough snubs this year, and I think Cooper Flagg is going to make it in 4 years. I think you want the 3-man bigs like they had with AD, Bam, and Embiid. Now we're just replacing Embiid with Chet Holmgren. We're going to have Donovan Mitchell. If he wants to do it, I think we'll get the nod, and Halliburton. Now I'm like, do we want to add another true point guard like a John Morant, like a Cade? So I think Cade's going to get cut. I think LaMelo's gonna get cut. I think Fox is gonna get cut. Same with Maxey and Trey. Man, it could be Brunson, could be between Brunson and Ja. And I think like as much as like Lively and Mobley and Allen could get consideration, I don't know if they're gonna make it just because we already have 3 bigs right now. So I think like the odd man out big is going to be Evan Mobley. And like as good as J-Dub could be by then, I just don't think he would make it over Mikal Bridges or Jaylen Brown. And if I have Cooper Flag in there, I think Herb Jones could be like a cut right there. I think like he could be up there with Cooper Flag. That could also be Mikal Bridges as well. I think just having Jaylen Brown in here, I don't think Scotty Barnes is going to make it. I don't think Brandon Miller is going to make it just yet, but he could be the star of like the FIBA World Cup team by then. So these are my snubs. If Derek White wants to do it, he'll make it, but just for fun's sake, just to try to get a new name in there. He'll be 34. Maybe he won't do it. He already got his gold medal, so we're going to throw him out there. I do think they would replace Derek White with Jalen Suggs. I do think Jalen Suggs would get it out of anybody here, unless Jaylen Brown wants to do it. Because if Jaylen Brown wants to do it, I think he would get that last spot. And if he doesn't want to do it, it could be Zion if he's fully healthy, just to get a little bit more size and physicality in there. It could be Ja. It could be Mikal Bridges for the defensive ability, or it could even be Mobley as well if they just want some more size, if he actually develops somewhat of an outside shot. I'll give it to Jaylen Brown if he wants to do it. And if he doesn't, you could maybe go with Zion Williamson or Evan Mobley, or maybe you think it could be one of these wings as well. So yeah, hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys think Team USA's roster could look like in 2028. Do you agree or disagree with any of my selections? And if you guys did enjoy the video, I'd appreciate it if you drop a thumbs up. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.